If someone had told me 5 years ago that the man I was married to, the man I shared a home, a bed, and 2 children with, was actually a wanted criminal with a trail of stolen identities and a federal warrant on his name, I would have thought they were crazy. Not because I believed people like that didn't exist, but because I believed I knew him. The truth is, I didn't know him at all. But let me start at the beginning. And before I do, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's always fascinating to see just how far these stories travel. Now, here's how I found out the man I loved was living a lie. My name is Tasha. I'm 39 now, a dental hygienist, mother of 2. I've always been a cautious, level-headed kind of person. I don't chase drama. I live a simple life. Or at least, I thought I did. Until I married Caleb Monroe. We met 12 years ago at a backyard cookout. He was standing by the grill, wearing aviator sunglasses and laughing at a joke nobody else heard. There was something smooth about him. Calm. He didn't need to be loud to take up space. He introduced himself as Caleb James Monroe, a freelance software consultant. He said he'd recently moved to our city to start fresh. At the time, I thought that meant a breakup or a job change. I had no idea it meant a whole new identity. The first year with Caleb was like a dream. He was romantic in subtle ways, cooking breakfast, fixing my car, holding me when I had a rough day at work. Not flashy, but present. Steady. He didn't like posting on social media, said he was private by nature. I figured that was just part of his personality. After all, not everyone wants their life online. We got married after 2 years of dating. We bought a home in the suburbs. We had 2 kids, Liam and Maya, and I truly believed I'd found the kind of love people spend their whole lives searching for. But then, things started to shift. It wasn't dramatic. Not at first. Just little things that made me feel like I was married to a shadow. He never wanted to take flights. Always preferred road trips. Whenever we did travel, he'd insist on handling the reservations himself, and always paid in cash. He avoided photos. Would turn his head, delete group shots, get annoyed if I tagged him in anything. When I asked about his family, he told me both his parents died in a car crash when he was 18. He had no siblings. No extended family. Just old ghosts he didn't like talking about. I didn't push it. Everyone has pain. But in hindsight, I realize how little I actually knew about his past. One morning, I noticed his laptop was gone. I asked him about it, and he said he'd spilled coffee on it and threw it out. No warning. No attempt to fix it. Another time, I caught him whispering on the phone in the garage at 2 a.m. He claimed it was a client overseas. I wanted to believe him. But doubt had already started to creep in. Then, came the moment that changed everything. It was a Saturday morning. Caleb had taken the kids to the park. I was cleaning out our bedroom closet when his old gym bag tumbled down from the top shelf. I reached to pick it up. It was half-zipped. When I went to close it, something shiny caught my eye. A handgun. A burner phone. A thick envelope stuffed with cash. And a set of out-of-state license plates. I stood there, heart pounding, staring into a bag that belonged to a stranger. I took pictures of everything. Then carefully packed it back and put it exactly how I found it. That night, I pretended nothing was wrong. I kissed him goodnight. I let him fall asleep next to me. But inside? I was unraveling. The next day, I Googled his full name. Caleb James Monroe. Nothing came up. No birth records. No college alumni page. No LinkedIn. Then I tried something else. I searched his face. I uploaded a photo of him to an image search tool. The results were buried deep. But I found something. An old mugshot. From Nevada. The name? Jason Tyler Monroe. Same eyes. Same scar on his chin. The article was short, but chilling. Fugitive escapes federal custody. Suspect tied to identity theft, fraud, and embezzlement totaling $2.3 million. Armed and dangerous. I couldn't breathe. I was married to a fugitive. I wanted to call the police right away. But fear held me back. What if he found out? What if he ran with the kids? What if he hurt me? So I called a friend who was a family attorney. She connected me with a contact at the U.S. Marshal's office. They took my evidence, the photos, the license plate number, even the bag's serial number, and promised to handle it quietly. They told me to play along. And to get out of the house the night they planned to move in. I stayed with my sister that night. I watched my phone like it was a bomb. At 11:12 p.m., I got the call. He's in custody. We got him. You're safe. The fallout was worse than I imagined. Not only was he guilty, he was infamous. Jason Monroe had used over 6 aliases in 4 states. He'd been arrested for cybercrimes, embezzlement, insurance fraud, and faking business startups to con investors out of their money. The last time he was caught, he escaped custody during a medical transfer and vanished. They'd been chasing him for 7 years. And all that time? He was living with me. Building a new life. Playing house with my kids. The trial made national headlines. At first, he tried to say I knew. That I was in on it. That I'd helped him hide. I was subpoenaed, forced to testify. I sat in front of a room full of strangers and told them I had no idea. That I'd been sleeping next to a stranger. That my children's father wasn't even real. He was found guilty on all charges. Sentenced to 15 years in federal prison without parole. But the emotional sentence for me? That one doesn't have an end date. After the trial, I started receiving strange letters. At first, they were anonymous. A few weeks later, I received one that said, "You ruined everything. You betrayed me." There was no return address. But I knew it was him. I took them to the authorities. They said he likely passed them through someone else in prison. They couldn't prove it. So I moved. Changed my name. Started from scratch. Even now, 2 years later, I still flinch when I see a man with a beard in a grocery store. I still check my rearview mirror more than I should. I still keep the bedroom door locked, even when I'm alone. Because when your sense of reality gets shattered, rebuilding it is a slow and painful process. My kids? They're okay. Liam was 7 when it happened. He still remembers the night the police came. Maya was only 4. She asks sometimes why Daddy doesn't call. I tell them the truth, in pieces. I tell them Daddy made mistakes and had to go away for a long time. I don't know what I'll say when they're older. I don't know how to explain that their father was never who he said he was. But I'll figure it out. So yes. I found out my husband was a wanted criminal. And it almost destroyed me. But it also woke me up. It made me see the difference between love and illusion. Between safety and comfort. Between who someone pretends to be, and who they really are. Now, I live without lies. Without fear. Without him. And I'm still learning how to trust again, especially myself. Because the hardest part of this entire ordeal? Was realizing how easily a person can become your whole world, and still be a stranger hiding in plain sight. What would you do if you found out your partner was secretly a fugitive? Would you go to the police? Would you confront them? Or would fear hold you back like it did me? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever been betrayed by someone who wore a mask for years, I see you. I believe you. You're not naive. You're just human.